Games, a show where every couple weeks we pull a game from my own personal collection of retro games, take off our nostalgia-tinted glasses and decide, is the game good by today's standards and is worth the price of admission? We talk about what the game does well, what the game doesn't do so well, and the things that are just plain weird. I'm your host, Dan, joined as always by my friend Jordan. Jordan, what did we get into today?
Today we played Star Fox 64 for the N64, and it's the story of an orphan fox's attempt to kill the disembodied head of Cranky Kong with the help of his friend, an incompetent toad.
Did you just read the back of the box?
Yeah, that's right from the manual.
I
mean, tell me what was wrong.
We're already going there?
Well, I was just telling people about the game.
Yeah, but like you didn't even... Do you want to try that one again? Like, you want to give some indication of what the game actually is and not
I mean, it's a space game with animals. And you're in space. Animals in space. You're shooting stuff. You're in not airplanes, but
R-wings.
R-wings, which is kind of like an X-wing, but a few letters earlier. And you shoot spaceships, and it's sort of like if you were playing Galaga, but like in 3D.
It's if the Star Wars Death Star was just levels of you playing as animals.
Yeah,
you basically have Star Fox.
That is basically what I said in my opening explanation of the game. Star Fox is basically Luke Skywalker, and yeah.
Anyways, so Star Fox 64 is a game made and published by Nintendo. It came out in North America June 30th, 1997. One of the top-selling games on the N64, over 4 million copies sold.
I believe that. It feels like everybody who had an N64 had Star Fox 64.
Yeah, first game on the console to support the Rumble Pack.
Yep, that's great.
And it is a reboot of the Star Fox on Super Nintendo.
All right. See, I thought that was the case.
It's very this franchise is so weird to me.
Yeah, just like from the very little I know about it, it seems super weird.
So, Star Fox on the Super Nintendo came out. It was amazing at the time. And then Star Fox 2 got canceled, and then they rebooted Star Fox with Star Fox 64.
But like Star Fox 2 got canceled after it was already all the way done.
It was almost done, but Miyamoto with the N64 coming up decided to take a lot of the elements from Star Fox 2 and put them into Star Fox 64. Like Star Wolf, for example.
Yes, where for some reason that it's never explained has the same like name as Star Fox, but he's a wolf.
I was talking about the team.
The whole team is called Star Wolf, and the leader is called Star Wolf?
Yes.
That's so confusing.
Well, I think the leader is just Wolf.
Okay.
Anyways. So they rebooted a franchise after one entry in it.
Yeah, you got to do that sometimes.
And then you had a bunch of weird like GameCube games that you're running around on foot and you're in planes. And then they made Star Fox Zero. And that was
one of the greatest games of all time.
Another reboot of Star Fox 64.
It was, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if it's literally, but I think it is.
It felt like it. We played it for, I don't know, an hour or two when it first came out, and we just had a miserable time.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity, and it's such a great game that it's, I think, the only game that hasn't been re-released on Switch.
Yeah. The thing about it is, if you just took that game and gave it actual decent controls, then it would have been a good game.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. We never got past like the second level.
No, we got way farther than the second level.
We played it for much too long.
And anyways, so yeah, Star Fox is a very interesting franchise that there's a lot of love for. I think based on Star Fox 64, we all think it's a great franchise, but based on my research and experience with every entry in Star Fox other than Star Fox 64, we might be a little off. This might be a Battletoads situation.
I don't know about that. We actually managed to beat this game, so there's a big positive in Star Fox's column that cannot be said about Battletoads in any iteration.
Well, there are certain positives about Battletoads. but we won't go there right now.
Can't think of any right now or ever, but I'm sure there's some there. Star Fox 64. Let's talk a little bit about Star Fox 64.
Yeah, well, let's get into what the game did well.
Okay. I think for me, one of the really cool things about this game is that it does a really good job of teaching you the controls throughout the first couple levels.
Oh, Peppy?
Yeah. See, I don't really love Peppy because he seems like he's talking down to you sometimes, but the fact that, you just jump in and there's not like a tutorial or whatever, like you're in and you're in the battle and you're just fighting and they're like, "Oh, by the way, these are what all the buttons do." And it's not just like ham-fisted or just like really inconvenient. They tell you when to use the things and then right away you get an opportunity to practice that. And I thought it was a really cool way to show you how to play the game.
Except for when he yells at you, "Do a barrel roll!"
Which is one of the greatest lines in video game history, so I'm okay with that.
He's like talking down to you.
He is talking down to you. Star Fox is supposed to be the leader of the team, but here's Peppy like taking away all of his leadership capabilities by making everybody realize that Star Fox doesn't even know the basics of piloting his own ship.
Well, Peppy was a part of his dad's squad. He was originally James McCloud's wingman.
Yes.
And he escaped and let Fox know what happened to his dad. He got captured by Andros. And so Fox got his dad's old squad together, brought them out of retirement, and here we are, Star Fox.
Yes. I like that his dad's name is James, and then he named his son Fox. I was saying it'd be like if your name was like Human.
Right.
Like, that's kind of weird.
So Peppy is a grizzled old veteran, so it makes sense that he'd be talking down to Fox.
Yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. I like the fact that he teaches you how to play the game. That was what I thought it was something this game does well.
Yeah, I think it plays into something that I have written down that the game does well is each of your squad mates does something specific.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peppy gives you tips. Slippy analyzes the boss's weaknesses and gives them, a health bar. Because if you lose Peppy, if you lose Slippy, then you can't see how much health a boss has left. And then Falco, I guess, shows secret paths, although I can only think of one time in the game, which is in the first level, where he'll show you a secret path outright. Although we only did play one path of the game has branching paths. Another thing I think it does well, gives you a lot of variety to what you can do, but apparently Falco plays into some level of giving you hints about what you can do to unlock those branching paths.
Yeah, we only did play one path today, but that is another thing that I have that this game does well, and that's the replayability that the game offers.
Yeah, for sure.
Because this is a game that both of us had as kids. It's a game that I have played a lot of, although like I felt like I wasn't very good at it as a kid, but then as we played through it, I realized like I actually did beat this game. I made it to the end. I actually did make it down multiple paths because there was levels that I remember vividly from being a kid that weren't in there today. So yeah, I guess I wasn't as bad at this game when I was a kid as I thought I was. Yeah,
and I like that I kind of like that the branching paths actually take some level of skill.
Yeah.
You have to know how to do them, and they're not all super easy. So we were in like the asteroid belt in the second level, and I remember there was these glowing rings that make your ship spin faster and faster, and if you hit them all, I think that's how you get the secret exit out of that level.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's correct, because I remember doing that on accident or like by a total stroke of luck when I was a kid and just thinking that was awesome.
Yeah, I've done it before, but I feel like I tried today and I failed at it miserably. And I'm
you got almost to the end. You were only one away, two away.
I don't know. I think I hit 3 in a row and then missed like the fourth and fifth one. And it was like one of those things where I'm like, I feel like I hit this 1 out of 10 times of playing Star Fox. And I've probably played Star Fox 64 dozens of times at this point throughout my life.
Yeah. Going along with that, though, with the whole replayability thing is each time you play a level, there's 2 different ways that you can beat it. There's like you just got through the level and that's mission complete.
Yeah.
And then if you do it really well and hit all of the correct conditions, you get mission accomplished. And I think that sometimes that mission accomplished is what triggers a different path.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot that this game doesn't really tell you about the best way to do it. Like there are certain thresholds of how many enemies it wants you to kill to do the best possible thing.
Yeah.
We were talking about, before we played, like if you get all the medals on like every level or something, or you beat the game on expert, you unlock for the multiplayer the characters on foot. But to get those medals, you have to like keep all of your squad alive and hit a score threshold and possibly do it on every single planet. which means playing everything in the game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
but one of the cool things about that is it only takes about an hour to beat the game.
Yeah.
And so you have lots of opportunities to play through it. It's nice that it doesn't tell you everything, because then there's some like discoverability and adventure to the game. You're trying to figure out, what does everything do? What are all these different paths? How do I unlock different parts of the game that I can't get into right now?
Yeah, it's almost like we have these stories as a kid, these legends, these playground legends from this era before the internet of like, did you know that if you do this, this, and this, you'll unlock this? And I feel like Star Fox is a great example of where that stuff can actually be true.
Oh, yeah. I even think about with the lore of this game, like there's the fact that all of these pilots have metal legs. And it was like, why do they have metal legs?
What?
And then, they all have metal legs. So like Fox, Slippy, Peppy, all of them, they have metal legs. And it was like, why do they have that? And then it came out recently. I don't know if it was in Smash Ultimate or somewhere it came out like in some facts that the reason that is because to pilot the R-Wing, if they had their normal legs, all the blood would go to their legs and they would die. So to become an R-Wing pilot, you have to have your legs amputated, and you get cybernetic legs. And like that's actually part of the lore. It's crazy.
Wow.
And you can see in like the really old Star Fox commercials, like the one with the puppets, like he's got metal legs and everything. It's like it's part of the stuff that they don't really ever tell you, but it's in there.
That's so bizarre. That's probably the second strangest place that this podcast has ever gone.
Like
besides
Nintendo.
Cat poop lady. But
well, like Nintendo's like, it's like, we're going to make a game in space with all these cute animals. And it's like, it seems cute and kid friendly on the surface, but then it's like, oh yeah, to become a pilot in this army, you have to be like extremely disfigured and have your legs amputated and go through this extremely traumatic experience.
Also, all of your squad mates are complaining when you steal their kills, and you get paid based on how many enemies you kill at the end of the game. So,
yeah.
Well done, Nintendo.
Oh, man.
Kid friendly.
Adding to the whole idea of replayability, one of the cool things about this game is that it does have a really big variety of levels. Like there's some that are on planets, there's some that are in space, there are ones that are like, most of the game is what's that called where you're
rails?
On rails. Thank you. Oh my goodness, I cannot remember what that was called. Where you're on rails. So basically it's taking you down a set path and you're just kind of pointing and shooting. And then there's other levels where you can fly around freely. There's levels where there's the one that I remember from when I was a kid where you're like trying to stop a train convoy.
Yeah.
You're fighting big robots in space. So there's a whole bunch of different things in this game. There's one level where you can actually drive a tank, the Landmaster, and it's got a whole different control system than flying your ship. So there's just a whole lot of different stuff going on in this game.
There's also a submarine level.
Really?
Yeah, I think that one is pretty hard to actually get to.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I think it's like you hit the secret path in the first level, and then I think it's the secret path in the second level from there, or something like that. It's I'm sort of torn between the skill that it takes to hit some of those secret paths, because on the one hand, it feels like it's not forgiving enough. It'd be really, really hard to see all of this game.
I think part of that though is just playing it over and over again and figuring it out. And I'm sure, I don't know. I mean, although we did play it over and over again as kids, and there's stuff that we haven't seen in this game.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it does. I appreciate that it takes skill, but I wish it was a little bit easier sometimes.
Yeah.
In that front. The next thing that I have that the game does well is that the bosses are fun.
They are. Yeah. They're really cool.
Yeah. None of them feel particularly hard. Like, I beat Andros in one try. And I don't know that it's like because I'm great at Star Fox. He just really wasn't that hard. And I don't know if he's harder based on the path that you take to him, because I remember him being a lot harder. And I remember there being like an exit, some kind of game where you have to like
an escape
fly
sequence
out. Yeah. And I didn't have that today. And I'm like, why? I don't remember. I remember that being one of the harder parts is escaping from Andros.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a ton of memories of actually getting to the end of this game. But all the bosses, they have like flashing spots where you got to shoot them, and they usually, once you destroy like one of their arms or one of their wings or one of their cannons or whatever, it explodes, and then there's some new part for you to blow up. So they all have really, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
They have unique mechanics.
Yeah, each of the bosses are unique, and they have different ways to kill you and be killed. which is fun.
And on top of that, I think the gameplay overall is fun. I really like the lock-on system in this game. We both played a little bit of the original Star Fox, and there's no lock-on system in it.
No, there's not. Yeah, it's one of the big differences I noticed.
Yeah, and one of the things I really love about this game is it just feels so good to just lock on. It gave you that sense of like being a pilot, and like, I don't know, there's just something incredibly satisfying to me about that system and just the game overall being fun. Like I said, I've probably played this game dozens of times, and I've never gotten sick of it.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised. I had more fun with it than I thought that I would.
Yeah.
It held up a lot better than I thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's because like my most recent experience with Star Fox was Star Fox Zero, which wasn't great, and I had played on the Switch, whatever it's called, the classic console thing on the Switch, a little bit of Star Fox, but it didn't hold my attention for a super long time. And then playing Star Fox 64, it actually held up a lot better than I expected it to.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else that stands out for you, what this game does well?
So yeah, I've got a couple more things. I like the music in this game. It's one of those things, I don't know if it's good or if it just hits me right in the nostalgia buttons, but like the sound, whenever I hear Star Fox, it just gives me a good feeling.
See, like the soundtrack for this game, I have less of an association with this actual game and more of with the Star Fox levels from Smash Bros.
Okay.
But it definitely fits the franchise.
Yeah. One of the composers is the same guy who did the music for like Super Mario Brothers and Legend of Zelda, and like, you know, Koji Kondo, one of the great video game composers of all time.
You can hear a little bit of like, there was a distress sound effect in there that reminded me a lot of the N64 Zelda games.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was the same or very similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the sound overall of this game. I think it is good, but it could be nostalgia that's blinding me to what if it's actually.
Yeah, it didn't stand out to me as like, this is amazing, but it definitely fits, and it's solid, and it adds to the ambiance of the game.
Yeah. And the last point that I have that I think that the game does well is the characters have a lot of personality.
I have this as like an in-between thing.
It's funny because...
Yeah, it's really quirky.
We can transition sort of on this because of some of what I have that the game doesn't do well. But for a weird space game about animals and spaceships, it injects like a lot of personality, especially once you start to get to the branching paths and all this stuff. Like all of the characters are unique. Like the enemies, your squad mates, like the guys that aren't part of your squad. Like if you get to the Independence Day style level, I don't know if you remember that from being a kid, but there's a giant spaceship and a core like drops down, and like there's like this dog that shows up, and they inject a lot of lore into this game.
Yeah.
In such an interesting way, you know, like Peppy's talking about, your father helped me out like that.
That was pretty spot on.
You know, you're becoming more like your father. It's just like, there's so much. It's funny to me how it's not environmental storytelling, but it's just like, there's this lore to Star Fox, and
they don't just like come out and give you the story. There's just like little bits and pieces of it that you pick up, and it definitely makes it feel like a bigger world than what it really is.
Yeah, for sure. Now, on the flip side of that coin, 3 of the things that I have that the game doesn't do well are Falco, Slippy, and Peppy.
Yeah. So I guess we can transition to that, because that is one of my biggest points too of what this game doesn't do well, is that the team, like your team, is just awful. And, you know, Skippy is likable.
Skippy.
But he's incompetent.
Slippy?
Slippy, whatever his name is, he's incompetent. Like, there's no reason that this guy should be on an elite Star Force. Like, there's no way that he should be on this team.
You know what's funny is I watched this like 15-minute animated short of, it's like an intro to Star Fox Zero, and you find out that Slippy is like the engineer of the team. And apparently he's like a genius.
Why is he in the ships fighting instead of being back helping Rob fix everything?
Dude, I don't know. But in that animated short, Peppy actually has a good luck charm that's made out of General Pepper's dog fur.
What? That's so weird.
That's literally pretty much what Fox says. He's like, nothing weird about that when Peppy like pulls it out. And then when they're like, all right, we got to go to Corneria, they're under attack. They're like,
again,
hold on, we got to go to the bathroom. Slippy and Peppy like need to go to the bathroom. And then when they finally come out, they both have these vials, and Slippy has made these DNA bombs made out of General Pepper's hair.
What the heck?
Andros is attacking Corneria, trying to kidnap General Pepper.
Of course.
And so all of his minions are attacking the tower where General Pepper is, and then Fox tells him to hide in a garbage can, and they shoot these DNA bombs, and all the enemies are attracted to these bombs, and that's because Slippy threw them together real quick.
Nice. In the bathroom of all places.
Yes. So if you're interested in this animated short, I will link it in the show notes. Go check it out, because there's a lot in there.
Oh man. Yeah, so Slippy should probably stick to building and fixing stuff and not so much flying. Like we lost count of the times in this game where he's like, Fox, get him off me. Fox, get him off me. Like over and over and over and over again.
Second to last level is like a free roaming level, or one of the optional paths. And it's this satellite where you got to blow up this core. And it was literally, I don't know what, the 7th time where I was like, all right, if he gets in trouble one more time, I'm just going to let him die. Because it was every like 12 seconds. He was like, Fox, get these guys off me.
Yes.
Fox, get these guys off me.
Yeah.
Fox. Oh, Fox. Oh, Fox.
It's awful. Like, I don't know what the problem is. They give you this team, and none of them are likable. Even Star Fox isn't really likable. He only communicates with Sergeant Pepper. General Pepper. What's it? Corporal?
General Pepper.
General Pepper. See, I'm getting him confused with his brother, Sergeant Pepper.
Oh, right.
And so, General Pepper will give him this whole like, oh, the city's under attack and we need to find the whatever. And then Fox is like, okay, man. Or like, whatever. He only responds in like 2-word blips. Like, you don't get a whole lot of personality out of Fox. And then Slippy is incompetent. We already talked about how Peppy is kind of like this know-it-all who's always like trying to undermine Fox's authority as the leader of the team by pointing out that Fox doesn't even know how to fly a ship. And then you have Falco, who is just a total jerk.
Yeah, Falco's kind of like a Vegeta, but I told you like almost at the end of our playthrough that Falco is actually Fox's best friend.
Which makes no sense at all. Like, you don't ever get that. Even from the NES game or Super Nintendo game, you don't get that at all. Like, there's no like love between those guys.
Yes, I read it when I was doing research. It was either on like the Wikipedia or the fan Wikia for like Star Fox or something, that I don't know if they were in training together or something, but they're best friends. And it's especially weird because like in the Super Nintendo game, Falco's like, there's a bogey on my 6. And then you like save him and he's like, mind your own business, Fox.
Well, even in this game, he's like in trouble and you save him and he says, gee, I've been saved by Fox. Like all angry about it. It's like, okay, I'll just let you die next time.
He just makes no sense. He's always sarcastic. And it's like, if he has at full health at the end of a level, he's like, I'm doing fine over here.
Yeah. The other thing is like, he hates Slippy. He absolutely hates Slippy. Slippy gets basically killed by one of these bosses, gets knocked down to a planet. You have to go down to save him. And the whole time you're trying to find him, Falco keeps saying, he sure can be a pain in the neck. It's like, we're trying to save him. Like, he's dying and you're complaining about how much of a pain in the neck he is. Like, maybe another time, another place.
Yeah, the characters, for all their personality in this one, I don't know how likable any of them are.
It's weird. They definitely have a lot of personality. You're right about that. And they really stick to the personality that they're given. Like, it's not confusing. Like, who they are is who they are, but who they are isn't really likable.
It's almost like a caricature of the personalities that they're playing. Like,
yeah.
They're always just over the top. And I don't know how, it's got to be intentional, right?
Oh yeah, you can definitely see some like tropes in there, some like anime tropes. Like Falco is definitely like the guy who's like thinks he's really the best, and he's always angry because his rival's doing better. But eventually he's gonna come alongside you and help you out, like Vegeta, like you said.
Yeah.
But you never get to the point where like you see Falco and Fox being buddy.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
But they definitely are memorable. Like
Yeah.
once you hear do a barrel roll, like you're never gonna forget Peppy and who he is and all that kind of stuff.
As hard as you want to try to forget Peppy, you'll never forget him.
That's another thing that's confusing. Why is there a General Pepper and a Peppy?
Well, it's General Peppy and Peppy Hare.
Peppy Hare, okay.
And Slippy Toad and Fox McCloud and Falco Lombardi.
He's an Italian falcon. oh man.
I'm telling you, man, this franchise is so weird.
It's just off the wall crazy.
Yeah.
Another thing for me that this game does a little bit poorly, not like completely bad, but it's just one of the things that's kind of strange and a weakness of the game, is that sometimes the camera can be a little bit weird.
Yeah.
It seems like your ship can kind of be in your own way, and it takes up a lot of the screen, and it's not always easy to like see where you're going.
Yeah, I agree. You can go into cockpit mode in this one, but I don't feel like it really helps.
No, you can definitely see more when you're in cockpit mode, but you are probably going to run into a bunch of stuff because you can't actually like maneuver as well.
And you also might get sick because when you tilt your ship, the whole world tilts.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of maybe a flight simulator, just general thing.
Yeah, it definitely looks more like a flight sim.
But yeah, there's the camera is definitely something that can sometimes be a pain. And part of it's like the on rails nature of it. You're fighting the camera a little bit. Like you don't have freedom or control over the camera at all. It'll only let you go so far to the right or left, and then arrows will show up on the screen telling you you need to move back in a direction. You can slow it down a little bit with your brakes, or you can do like a backflip, stuff like that. But yeah, and part of the challenge of the branching paths comes from the camera forcing you forward constantly. And if you miss something, you miss something. There's no going back for it.
Yep.
So I agree with you. It doesn't ruin the game though.
No, not at all. It's not like a glaring problem that completely takes away from the gameplay. It's just, if we're looking at weaknesses, that's one that kind of stands out.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you don't think the game did very well?
Just one more, in that this is something that can be applied to all N64 games, I think, and that the graphics are a little bit of a weakness.
Yeah, but that could be a good transitional point.
I think it is.
So not only did I justify the arcade one-up Ninja Turtles cabinet for my birthday, I also managed to justify the EON Super 64 HDMI adapter for my N64 as a birthday present to myself.
Play any N64 game on any HD TV. Virtually eliminate all input lag. Compatible with any HDMI-enabled display. Setup is easy.
Yeah, that nailed it. That's all off the back of the box.
Now featuring Slick Mode.
So the EON Super 64 shows you the NES or the N64 in crispy 480p. And it has a toggle switch.
Did you just say crispy 480p? What a time to be alive.
Well, it's the crispiest 480p that you can possibly see through an HDMI port.
Yeah.
And it has a button that smooths out some of the jaggies.
It might.
And it is so revolutionary that when you plug this thing in, you may not be able to tell the difference of composite cables versus this.
Yeah, see, I was a little bit bummed. So when we play Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis games, we always play them on the Retron 5, which has really cool upsampling, and it can make these old games look really nice on an HD TV. Mm-hmm. So I was expecting that kind of transformation from the N64, which is kind of muddy and blurry.
Yeah.
And then you plug in this HDMI connector thing that's supposed to supercharge your N64, and it is almost completely the same.
Yeah. Now, it's nice to have the HDMI capability on your N64 without having to open it up and mod it. That's one of the nice things, because one of the only ways to get an HDMI port before was to actually have to open the console and solder it or buy an expensive, mod that's pre-built. So this it allows me to capture footage from my N64
Yeah.
in a very easy and convenient way. And you don't have to do any crazy electronic work on it. So it's plug and play.
It's more of an HDMI connector than any sort of fancy graphic miracle.
Right. And so to wrap up your point before we continue to talk about the Super 64, graphics are going to be a weakness in pretty much every N64 game.
Yeah, always.
Just by the nature of it being early 3D games, I don't know that you're ever going to enjoy the way your N64 looks.
It's such a hard thing with these games because when the N64 and the PlayStation to some extent, when those first came out and we got these first 3D games, they were mind-blowing. I was telling you just this weekend, I was at a retreat with a bunch of middle schoolers, and we pulled out an N64, and I plugged in some games, and they were playing them, and this kid was like, these graphics are terrible. Like, why didn't anybody ever think this was good? And we also had Towerfall, which is, like a sprite-based 2D game on another TV. And I was like, see that? Like, that's what we had before. That's like the Super Nintendo. So going from that to this is a huge jump. And, like, it was amazing. It did look lifelike at the time. But now it just looks like a bunch of blurry rectangles.
Yeah. I don't think Star Fox looks that bad, though.
No. It doesn't look bad for an N64 game.
Yeah, especially, like, playing the original Star Fox on Super Nintendo. I played it yesterday, and I was, like, wanting to beat my head against the wall with, like, it has, like, a draw distance of, like, 10 feet. It's just like the challenge of this game comes from the fact that enemies pop in right in front of you.
Yeah.
And so especially like compared to that, I feel like this is a game that the graphics are one of the least of my concerns with it.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. So like as far as N64 games go, I don't think Star Fox has bad graphics at all. But just by the nature of being an N64 game, it really feels dated. Like nobody's trying to recreate this look. You have so many indie developers that are going back and creating 8-bit and 16-bit styles of 2D games and even like 3D sprite-based games. But when you come to like the N64, you don't have a whole lot of people trying to emulate this like blurry, cloudy, muddy kind of style.
Yeah, there's just nothing charming about the look of the N64. Even in my opinion,
even when you see games today getting like remastered, like Spyro and those other PlayStation games, like they're not releasing the PlayStation version of Spyro. It's completely remastered in HD.
There's no filter for the PS1 versions.
The games were good. The games are good.
Yeah,
it's just the graphics didn't age well.
Yeah, for sure. So back to the EON 64, and maybe this is a good place to transition to our next segment, unless you have anything else.
No, I think this is great.
It's made out of plastic.
Yep.
It looks relatively cheap.
It kind of looks like a dongle for like a third-party controller.
Yeah, it looks like a cheap Chinese peripheral.
I feel like if it was plugged in and you accidentally like jostled it or stepped on it or whatever, like this plastic end piece would snap off for sure.
Yeah. So what would you pay for the experience you just had with the Super 64?
See, like I feel like the ability to play your N64 in HD and not have to worry about composite cables or even like some TVs don't even come with that anymore. I feel like you'd basically be paying whatever it would cost for a composite to HDMI adapter or cable or whatever. Okay. And usually like adapters or cables like that, you're thinking like in the $20 range.
Okay.
$20 to $30.
So you'd pay about $20 to $30 for that if you wanted an HDMI port for your N64?
Yeah.
You feel good about that? What do you think that thing costs?
I feel like you kind of told me at one point. I feel like it's like $100 or something.
Yeah, the EON 64, the Super 64 costs $150.
Oh, goodness, $150. Yeah.
Now, I would have loved to be part of that meeting where the guys who made that thought that was a fair price.
I want to know what's in this thing because it's got to just be like some wires, right? Or is there actually a computer chip in here?
I have no idea. There's got to be something that smooths it out.
Yeah.
But does that when you hold it and look at it, does that look like a $150 device to you?
No, it doesn't look like a $150 device. And the other thing is, it doesn't, like the smoothing and stuff, that's not worth paying for because it's almost unnoticeable. So what you're paying for is an adapter to get to HDMI. And so for an adapter, $150 is insane. But that's the problem with retro gaming, is that our nostalgia convinces us that stuff is worth way more than it actually is.
Yeah. Fortunately, I found a nice best offer on eBay. Didn't pay the $150 for it. Still paid way too much for it. Benefiting from it with the HDMI port, and I can capture footage and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not a total loss, but
at $150, you got to say worthless.
At anything above $30, I'm calling that thing worthless.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, guys. If you had any interest in this, and if you were wondering if it's worth the price tag, it is absolutely not. Unless you really need an HDMI port for your N64.
There's got to be a better way. Somebody has to have like a composite to HDMI adapter.
Well, the mod kits that I think I've seen actually have like an extra menu and stuff, and you can turn on filter modes and different smoothing modes and things of that nature.
Okay.
And I think they give you a lot more options, but they're like the same price.
Yeah, and you
like
don't
pre-assembled. I think they're the same price.
Ugh.
So I had wanted that thing, and then when I plugged it in, I was like, is there any difference? And it wasn't until I paused the game and could actually flip the switch on and off that I saw the text, clean up a little bit. And I was like, oh, no, N64 just looks like garbage, even in crispy 480p.
Yeah.
So a little bonus for you guys. Super 64, worthless.
Worthless.
Don't touch it until it goes down to $30. All right, moving on back to Star Fox 64. What would you pay for the experience you just had with it?
Star Fox is good. Yeah, that was fun. I had a good time. I feel like you could get several hours of play out of this, trying to get all the different branching paths and all that. So I feel like
and there's multiplayer. We didn't even play the multiplayer.
There is multiplayer. It's not great. I remember from when I was a kid, we did not spend much time on it.
Yeah.
Even as a family of 4 boys, and we put a lot of time into the N64 4-player games, we did not put a lot of time into this multiplayer because it's pretty bare bones. It's just dogfighting. And but the game itself is fun. We did put a lot of time into that. And I feel like there's enough there for me to would go to like $7 or $8 on this.
Whoa.
Which is big for me.
Yeah. So it's worth 4 times
it's
as much as a typical experience.
Yeah, like I said, I had more fun than I thought I would. It held up better than I thought it would.
Yeah. I feel like I'm coming in at 20 on this one.
That sounds right for you.
Yeah, I feel good. This isn't one of those games where I look back at it and think that nostalgia is blinding me on this one. There is a 3DS version, which I own. It's pretty good.
Is it the same game, or did they change some graphics at all?
It's like a prettier, like slightly updated version of it. I can't remember all the changes they made, but it's a slight remaster, I think.
All right. They did a lot of those for the 3DS. Like, 'cause they did the Zelda games too, right?
Mm-hmm. And so I think you can actually download that or buy that for like $20 now.
Okay, not bad.
Not bad. Also available on the Wii U. If you still got your Wii U hooked up and you got $10 that you're just looking to get rid of.
For all 10 of us who still have a Wii U.
You can get a nice download of Star Fox 64.
Nice.
To play on your Fisher-Price iPad. But yeah, I'd say $20 is definitely worth it for the N64 or the 3DS version of this game.
So what is this actually going for?
What do you think?
I feel like that's one that everybody had. It doesn't seem like it was rare. I can't imagine that it'd be super expensive. It's not like a game or not like a franchise that people are like obsessed with for all the reasons we discussed earlier.
I feel like it gets a lot of love though. I feel like people just have fond memories of Star Fox.
Yeah, but like if you want to play a really good Star Fox game, you're either gonna play Smash Bros. Or Starlink.
What?
Yeah. You want to play as Fox and Falco and Wolf, play Smash Bros. If you want an actual good spaceship game with Star Fox, go play Starlink.
See, I was watching footage of Starlink yesterday, and I was like, I don't know. This looks like it could be interesting, but it still doesn't look like what I'm looking for out of a Star Fox game.
What are you looking for out of a Star Fox game?
See, while Star Fox 64 is not a perfect game, every other game in this franchise, I feel like, has like strayed from the path of what Star Fox 64 is, and that's why none of them are as good.
You want a remake of the remake?
Yes.
All right.
So like it's like the GameCube games. Like I watched this whole like evolution of Star Fox, which I'll put in the show notes. The evolution of Star Fox games. And on the GameCube, like the ship combat looks great, but then you have like all the weird on foot stuff. It's like a bad looking third person shooter.
Yeah.
And I think I've played one of the GameCube games like a time or two, and it was like, no, this isn't, I don't want to do this on foot stuff. Like it just.
Yeah, that's not Star Fox.
It's like this game is the exact kind of like ship combat that I really want.
So I have a feeling that the next time we get a Star Fox game, well, I can't say this for sure because Nintendo does what they want to do. But I feel like the next time we get one, it will be that remake of the remake because they're going to go back to what everybody wants.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like, again, to go back to Battletoads where everybody's like, I like Battletoads because I think it's a beat 'em up. But that's like 10% of what it is.
So what is relating that to Star Fox, what do people think Star Fox is?
People think Star Fox is Star Fox 64. What Star Fox actually is, like, I played Star Fox 2 on my SNES Classic yesterday, to have something to reference for the show, and it's a weird game. Like, it drops you in, and you're like, General Pepper's like, you gotta save Corneria.
Again.
So Andros is back, and he's like launching missiles, and it's not like a tower defense thing, but you have like free roaming of the galaxy, and you choose planets, and you have to go defeat Andros's bases, and meanwhile it's shooting missiles towards Corneria, and you have to like fly around, and as you fly around, Corneria gets more damaged. So it's almost like you have to make sure that you stick close enough to it to defend it, but still go out and defeat every planet in the galaxy.
Okay.
And then when you end up on these planets, you're like in a walking tank that like controls awkwardly. There's like not nearly enough of like the spaceship combat that Star Fox is known for.
Okay, so more of Star Fox doing different things and not sticking to the on-rails spaceship stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like Star Fox Zero. Like, looks really good for a few of the levels, and then it becomes like this free-roaming like thing in all these weird vehicles that don't feel very good because the control scheme is terrible on it. And it's not like an on-rails guided experience.
Yeah.
Like, that's the bread and butter of what Star Fox is an on-rails ship shooter. Occasionally you get the tank or the submarine, but they're still on rails levels that feel somewhat similar.
I think we had 2 like free roaming levels in Star Fox 64 and they felt good. Like that was enough.
Well, even those, they're small. They're like dogfighting levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're short experiences where the game is basically on a timer.
Yep.
And if you don't do it in time, you're still moving on. It's
Yep.
just a worse path or an easier path for you. So I want Star Fox to just be an on-rails ship shooter, but it just seems like there's all this other stuff, all these other experiments in the franchise where there's a lot of love because of Star Fox 64, which I'm thinking about it, man. It might actually be one of my favorite games of all time. As far as like a top 25, top 30 list, I might throw Star Fox 64 on there just because every time I come back to this game, there's no, it's just always, I feel good about it.
You always have these hypothetical lists. I'm going to have to make you actually create these lists and so I can hold you to it.
Yeah, well, we may have a little list coming up soon.
Oh, yeah.
An episode.
That's true. Keep your eyes out.
Lists.
Or your ears out? I don't know.
Both.
All right, so that was a lot of discussion to get to the fact that I think this game is probably worth $20.
Yeah?
I think that's what I
Okay,
was
well, we
going
didn't
for.
actually officially answer what it was going for.
No, we didn't. You asked me what do I think it's going for, and then we got really sidetracked because I said I don't think this game is as beloved, and then we went down that rabbit hole. So, coming back to it, I think this game is probably going for like $20.
Yeah, I would say it's actually going for like 15 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. It was yesterday on eBay, it said it was trending at 15. Price charting says 15, but when I was looking at the ranges on the sold listings, it was 15 to 20.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
Well done. You pretty much nailed the top end of that one.
Nailed it.
Great job. At $15, I gotta say worth it.
I would have a hard time saying worthless at $15. Like, that's more than what I said that I would want to pay for it, but I can see how people would. It's not crazy to me. If you are a person who loves this franchise or just loves this style of game, go for it. I'm not a collector. I don't even own an N64, so that's out of the realm of what I would want to pay for it, but it's not crazy. So I would say worth it also.
So you're saying you wouldn't pay the whatever $50 or $60 for an N64, then the $150 for the Super 64, and then another $15 for Star Fox?
I don't think that's an investment that I'm gonna make right now, or ever.
You're a terrible collector.
Yeah, I'm not a collector at all. I love purging and getting rid of stuff. So
yeah, but maybe we'll get lucky. Nintendo will add to the Switch Online service an N64 app or something soon. Probably not soon, but maybe they'll put out the N64 Mini. Or
we'll see. I know that the N64 is notoriously difficult to emulate, and so I'm not sure that even Nintendo would be able to do that super well. Because I know that a lot of the games, the reason that it's tough to emulate them is because a lot of the computation was happening on the cartridges, and so computers, when they try to emulate that, they end up doing really weird things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of the reason we haven't gotten a Retron 64 is due to like trademark copyright stuff, which expires, is it 25 years?
Dude, I have no idea.
I think it's 25 years for hardware. So we may get a Retron 64 in a few years, but I don't think a lot of companies, a lot of third parties can legally get their hands on trying to do something about that.
Like how right now we're completely flooded. Like, I don't know if you are the same as me, but every ad I get on Instagram is for some like knockoff Game Boy. Do you get is that going to be like for N64s? We're going to be flooded with knockoff N64s in a few years.
I feel like N64 is really popular right now. So I feel like a lot of people want that, but I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Do you have anything else?
I do not have anything else today. I actually forgot to go and grab a review or comment or message, but as we always say, we would love it if you would let us know what you think of the show. What could we do better? What do you like? So we can continue to do it or do it even better. So if you want to leave us a review or send us a message or leave us a comment, we would love that. It's super encouraging for us. It helps us become better at what we do. And if you're lucky, we might read your message or review on the show.
Yeah, and if you guys want to hear about any games in particular, I always like to hear what games you guys are interested that we haven't covered.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have a fairly sizable collection, so there's a good chance that I might own anything that you might bring up. So let me know if you do want to hear specific episodes, and we will try to put those on the calendar to record in the future.
There was somebody out there who left us a comment who said, do you guys take suggestions? And if so, can I send you a game? And then I responded to them like, yes, we do. And if we don't have the game, sure, we'd love you to send us a game. And then they never responded to it. So I don't know if they were trolling us or if they just missed the message. But yes, we do take requests. And if you, for some reason, want to send us a game, awesome. We will, we will take it. No promises we'll review it, but we'll take your games for free. Absolutely.
We'll take it, and I'll return it if you want it back.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So no harm there if you really want to send us a game.
Unless it gets lost in the mail or something. And then
I won't lose your game in the mail. I'll send it with insurance.
Awesome. Cool. Well, games by mail. That's a new feature of the podcast. Send us your games.
All right, my friend. I think that is going to wrap things up.
I think so, too. We will see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to email us at worthitoworthlesspodcast@gmail.com. And if you're interested in staying up to date with the show, follow us at WIOW Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review and subscribe if you want to hear more. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the show. We sincerely appreciate it. Talk to you next time.